My name is Kiri, and I'm the eldest of three in a family that's scattered around the world, from Malawi to the US. I've been a migrant since I was 11 years old, which is when I went to boarding school in Zimbabwe. It was a real eye-opener for me in terms of race because it was the first time I had to think about it. People kept asking me if my mother was mixed race or white, and if that made me mixed race or black. I found that hard because it's not something we ever discussed at home. Before I came to the UK for university, my mother told me that often I would be the only black person in a room, but not to let that make me fearful. Instead, she said, "You'll be memorable, so use that to your advantage. Be remembered for something good." Despite this, I wasn't really prepared for being one of a majority to being a minority. In my classes, sometimes a minority of one. I've since become involved in anti-racist and migrant campaigning. I meet a lot of Christians in the activist spaces I'm part of. Although these aren't Christian spaces, I believe the struggle for justice for the most marginalized in society is close to God's heart. One of my most cherished verses is Jeremiah 29 verse 7. "But seek the welfare of the city where I have sent you into exile, and pray to the Lord on its behalf, for in its welfare you will find your welfare." It's specific to its time, but it also reminds me that we are all migrants here on earth, far from our true home, and called to bring shalom wherever we find ourselves, sharing God's love with our neighbors. I am always comforted to remember that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, because I know that wherever I find myself, He is already there. I just have to be humble and respond. The joy and diversity in Crown is what made me stay. When I visited in 2010, I saw that diversity, not just on race, but backgrounds, ability, ages, experiences, was celebrated. It's the only church I visited that seemed to really revel in this, and it feels like home to me. My hope is that we keep deliberately holding out the door. It takes courage in these times to say, we want our church to be a meeting place for the nations. One of my favorite times is when we worship in our own languages. I don't understand it all, but I'm always struck by the sheer number of ways that there are to praise God. It's human, and it's beautiful, and it's holy. It makes my heart sing.